Namaste and good afternoon. Um, Kindly be seated so we can get started. Yes. I'm Sharat Menon and a co-founding member of the Indian History Awareness and Research headquartered in Houston, Texas, United States. And it's my pleasure and privilege today to introduce to you a senior and revered journalist from Kerala, Shri Harikartha, and my acquaintance with Shri Harikartha goes back many years when he first worked for the Amrita television, doing a very popular program on the temple heritage of Kerala called Pradakshinam. That was many, many years ago. Since then, we have actually maintained a close association. Shri Harikartha is currently working for the Honorable Governor's Office at Raj Bhavan as a special additional assistant. It's my pleasure now to introduce Shri Harikartha to come to a podium and address audience to give a brief talk on the history of Kerala and the current echoes and vibrations in the state. Harikartha, please. Thank you.
How much time am I supposed to take? Because the governor is supposed to be here at 1:15.
Yeah, we're going to reception and we have a reception room upstairs. And then you can wait till about 1.
It's already 1:14. What do you do?
1:30 you basically 1:30 and you start.
Okay. It's a challenge before me to present Kerala in another 15 minutes. We have had a very inspiring and emotional session just before the lunch. And my presentation may be not that emotional or inspiring. On the contrary, it could be a bit disturbing. As already introduced, I am basically a journalist. I have had my innings in the profession. I have been with different media organizations for past 40 decades. And now working with the Kerala governor for the past 1 year as his additional special secretary. Now, I don't intend to deliver an elaborate extempore speech on Kerala. I have jotted some notes here, which I'll share with you within the minimum time because time is a real constraint. I'll start with a small story. It's a folk tale. In Malayalam, that is called the Paraipetta Panduru Kulam. The 12 children of Parai. Parai is a female member of the most backward caste of Kerala. So according to this folk tale, Vararuchi, one of the wise men in the court of Vikramaditya, he married a lady from the backward community of Parayas. And her name was Panchami. The couple set out on a long pilgrimage. On the way, they were blessed with 12 children, one after the other. Upon each delivery, Vararuchi inquired whether the baby had a mouth. That was the first question which Vararuchi used to ask his wife, whether the newborn child has a mouth. If the wife said yes, he would immediately ask the wife to abandon the child. and go with him. And being a very loyal, dutiful wife, she did the same. She abandoned every child. But when the 12th child was born, Panchami was in a dilemma. She was a bit selfish, just like any other woman, any other mother. She wanted to bring up at least one child. So she said a lie. When she was asked whether the child has a mouth, she said, no, he doesn't have a mouth. But after telling this, Panchami looked at the kid and saw, surprisingly, miraculously, the child never had a mouth. Immediately, Vararuchi consecrated the child as an idol and installed it in a temple. And that temple was known as Vailla Kunnilappan, which temple is there, still there in Malabar. Now, these 11 children who were abandoned on the way were adopted by different communities of Kerala, and they were brought up. And we in Kerala today are supposed to be the descendants of these 12 children, or the descendants of Parayipetta Pandirukulam. Kerala has always been different. We have had presentations on Bengal, Telangana, Orissa, but compared to the rest of India, Kerala has been different sometimes refreshingly, and of late, as I said at the outset, disturbingly. While thinking of Kerala, the first name or first thought comes to one's mind, is that of Adi Sankara. It is a land which gave birth to the great Sankaracharya, who laid the foundations of the cultural unity of Kerala, cultural unity of India, of Bharatvarsha. And it was on those cultural foundations that Sardar Patel was able to unify India, politically unify India. But the tragedy or the malady is that Adi Sankara is not respected in his home state, except perhaps a university by his name, which in effect has been a disgrace to Sankara and all that Sankara stood for. When the international airport at Cochin was launched, the then president was approached with a memorandum, because that Nedambasheri International Airport happens to be in the birthplace, the village where Sankara was born. So the request was that the airport should be named after Sankaracharya. Immediately came the reply from the president, who was then, fortunately or unfortunately, a Malayali. We have had only one Malayali president, and I don't want to name him. The reply was that Sankara had nothing to do with aircraft and aviation. So this is the attitude of the average Malayali, even the so-called enlightened Malayali, to Sankaracharya and all that Sankaracharya taught us. Now, having said about Sankara, I cannot ignore another Sankara. There is yet another son of Kerala who also shot to international fame. He also was born to the Malayali Brahmin community of Namboodiris. He is none other than E M Sankaran Namboodripad, the patriarch of Marxism. Unlike Sankara, who was the exponent of Advaita, this Sankara the second Sankara, or Sankaran Namboodripad, was the Acharya of Marxism-Leninism. And he caught global attention for the first time in 1957. It was in 1957 that Kerala had its first elections. In that election, the Communist Party, led by Namboodripad, came to power. In fact, Namboodripad was ironically contradicting what Karl Marx had predicted. Marxian prediction is that, or was that, nowhere in the world the Communist Party can come to power in a peaceful manner, by a peaceful manner. Only through the ballots, only through the bullets, and never by the ballots can the Communist Party come to power. But this Marxian prediction was proved wrong in Kerala in the first ever elections. And in a very peaceful manner, the Communist Party was democratically elected in the state. And that is how E M Sankaran became the cynosure of the international eyes. We have seen characteristic contradictions in the life and teachings of the two Shankaras. This contradiction is evident in almost every sphere of activity in Kerala till date. The cradle of Advaita also proved fertile soil for communism. In the late 50s, when the first ever elected communist ministry headed by Namboodripad was in power, Kerala was described by international journalists as the Yan'an of India. You know, it was from the village of Yan'an that Mao Zedong started his long march in China. So the general propaganda or the general belief was that Kerala is the Yan'an of India from where the long march of communists will start. And then the slogan raised by communists was that after Namboodripad, after Jawaharlal Nehru, it will be Namboodripad in Delhi by ballots or by bullet. But that never happened. The political contradiction is that, you know, Kerala is a land of contradictions, one after the other. Now, having elected the first communist ministry, the same communist ministry was brought down by a popular upsurge. That popular uprising was known as vimochana samaram, or liberation struggle. It was spearheaded by the non-communist or anti-communist forces in Kerala itself. And that was first time when a popularly elected ministry was dismissed by the central government. Jawaharlal Nehru was the prime minister then. Indira Gandhi was the AICC president. Indira Gandhi advised her father Nehru to dismiss the Communist Party because law and order was in a very bad shape in Kerala then. Now, after that, after the 1957 election, the Communist Party could never come to power in Kerala on its own. They had to forge opportunistic alliances. They forged alliance even with the Muslim League, Indian Union Muslim League, All India Muslim League. All these ideologically opposite parties had to be allied with to attain power. Even today, the Communist Party is in power in Kerala only because of the alliance, only because of the front. But having said that, Kerala is the only bastion of communists or Communist Party in India even today. Now the question is how the land of Vedanta proved fertile for the communists or the Reds. In fact, the evolution and growth of communist movement in the state was as a result of the derailment of Kerala Renaissance, cultural Renaissance. Kerala produced not only Shankara, but several other saints and spiritual seers like Sri Narayana Guru, Chattambi Swamigal, Sri Ayya Vaikunta Swamigal, and in modern times, lately, Swami Ranganathananda, Swami Chinmayananda, and Mata Amrutanandamayi Devi. The malady which led to the present tragedy was the Renaissance movement, was very cunningly hijacked by the communists. They dubbed and projected saints like Sri Narayana as social reformers, eclipsing their spiritual teachings and spiritual message. It is to be noted that often the left in Kerala has played the Hindu card with political and electoral motives. There is a theory that the CPM is the biggest Hindu party in Kerala. The CPM BJP clashes and killings in the state is often attributed to the fight for sway over the majority Hindu community, because they form the common vote bank for BJP and CPM. CPM never gets the Muslim votes or Christian votes. In fact, the communist movement in Kerala was a backlash to the Christian-dominated or Catholic-dominated Congress in the state. During the maiden elections, after inception of Kerala state, the undivided Communist Party had significantly made a promise in their election manifesto that the inquiry report on Sabarimala hill shrine arson, which till then was kept confidential for obvious reasons, would be published once the Communist Party came to power. This is how the Communist Party or the CPM plays the Hindu card in Kerala. The Sabarimala hill shrine was put to fire by a group of Christians. That inquiry report was suppressed. It was not brought to light because that would have led to serious consequences. It was a Congress which was in power then. But when fighting the elections, the CPI, Undivided Communist Party, they offered to publish the Sabarimala arson report once they are elected to power, so as to woo the Hindu votes. Again in the 80s, this was in 1957, again in the 80s, when Arif Muhammad Khan, who will be addressing us shortly, the present Kerala governor, when he resigned from the Rajiv Gandhi cabinet at the center following the Shabano case, the CPM invited him to Kerala. He was arranged a hero's welcome wherever he went, and that campaign was headed by none other than E M Sankaran. Now, after 4 decades, this happened in 1984, 2 decades, yes. Now, Arif Muhammad Khan is the #1 enemy of the comrades in Kerala. That is, again, another contradiction. Now, it is also noteworthy that whenever the CPM chose to hurt Hindu sentiments, it has cost them dearly at the hustings. The poor performance of the CPM and the Left Democratic Front in the last Lok Sabha elections of 2019, when the Congress-led front swept all the 19 seats in the state, it was attributed to the Sabarimala incidents. The Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan and the CPM-led government tried their level best to allow the entry of women, young women, into the Sabarimala temple, as if to obey or carry out the Supreme Court judgment in this regard. Kerala is totally literate. We always take pride in being the only totally literate state in India. In education too, Kerala has been much advanced. People of Kerala are therefore considered highly politically conscious. But this political consciousness is a moot point in view of the people's behavior during the most critical period of Indian democracy. The 19-month-long emergency is what I am referring to. That was the darkest chapter in the history of independent India. But despite the much trumpeted state's political consciousness and literacy and progressive outlook, barring a few protests by a handful of Naxalites and activists of the RSS here and there was no resistance to the emergency in Kerala. On the contrary, the emergency regime of Kerala, led by the CPI and Congress together, that was voted to power with thumping majority, because the Keralites then were happy over government offices functioning from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and trains and buses running on time. Ironically, the left-dominated state voted the Congress-led coalition back to power with a thumping majority. Kerala is described as the crucible of Indian politics. We have experimented with several types of politics and political combinations. As already mentioned, Kerala was the only state to elect the Communist Party to power. It is a state which pioneered in coalitions and coalition politics. Almost all political parties here, big or small, except of course the BJP, get a chance to share power in the state. As coalition politics came to stay, ideology and value-based politics has taken a back seat. With no exception, all parties have declared a holiday for their respective ideologies. But in appeasing minoritism or minority communalism, the two dominant fronts are the Congress-led United Democratic Front, which is now in the opposition, and the CPM-led Left and Democratic Front, which is now the ruling party. They compete with each other to woo minority votes and to appease religious minorities. No other part in India or the world witnessed as much as political violence as in Kerala. Again, another contradiction of the so-called political consciousness. Hundreds belonging to RSS, BJP, CPM and even the Congress have been butchered in the last few decades due to political rivalry. Most of the victims are those in the prime of their youth, resulting in mothers and fathers losing their sons, wives their loving husbands, and sisters robbed of their brothers. Nevertheless, Kerala has always fascinated the development economists. Nobel laureate Amartya Sen has always been a fan of Kerala development. I would love to call it the Kerala development experience rather than a development model. There is no denying that the state is much ahead in regard to human development indices. Kerala ranks top in healthcare, life expectancy, and literacy. Often the left claims credit for those achievements. But the fact of the matter is, we inherited all these from the days of the Maharajas during the pre-independence days. But now the left claims credit for all these achievements. Travancore, which later merged with Kochi and Malabar to form Kerala, was administered by enlightened, progressive, and benevolent kings. They only introduced statutory rationing, made primary education compulsory, declared temple gates open for all castes, which was a very revolutionary measure, abolished capital punishment for the first time in the country, and gave top priority to public health care and women education and empowerment. Though the kingdom was dedicated to the presiding deity Sri Padmanabha, and the Travancore kings were kings who called themselves Padmanabha Dasas, servants of Padmanabha, they respected all faiths. They were positively, genuinely secular in their attitude to other religions. The several lakh crores worth of gold and precious diamonds in the cellars of Sri Padmanabha Swami temple speak volumes about the honesty and integrity of the erstwhile rulers of Travancore. The Honorable Governor is coming, so we'll